How are you? How now, Brune? That accent is so fucking hard. Like, I can do like a basic Irish accent, but the how? What the fuck is it?
I like how she says Sarover. Sarover. Sarover.
Sarover.
We would now like to invite you each to make your vows to each other.
The avocado. Oh yeah, with a bit of avocado. Innit? Oh yeah, had you thinking about it? Think.
Welcome everybody to Popcorn Therapy, where the stories we love tell us something about who we are. Today we are going to be doing Love is Blind UK, and what you just heard was some voice notes that Emily and I sent back and forth to each other, trying to wrap our mouths around the many accents that we heard throughout the course of this season. So we've got a great episode for you coming up. Just before we jump in, I wanted to tell you that I have another new book coming out. You may have heard about Maiden, Warrior, Mother, Crone, which is a book all about goddesses and divine feminine storytelling and folk tales. And the second book in that series is coming out this November. It's called Witch, Healer, Priestess, Outcast. So hopefully you already have the book Maiden, Warrior, Mother, Crone, and you love it and you want more. There is more. I'm so excited to share with you more. Witch, Healer, Priestess, Outcast. It's a whole set of different goddesses. We've got Morgan Le Fay, we've got Oshun, we've got Rhea Sylvia, and we've got Asherah, who is God's wife, erased from the Bible. It's a scandal. It's a very old scandal, but one you may not have heard about before. So this one, it's a little darker, it's a little sexier actually. There's a little more romantasy going on in this book, and I cannot wait for you to read my takes on some of these figures and goddesses that you may or may not have heard of before. So please go pre-order it now. It really helps with the algorithm if you pre-order. And if you don't have Maiden, Warrior, Mother, Crone yet, what are you doing with your life? Buy it for all of your friends for Christmas or whatever you celebrate at the holidays. And then get Witch, Healer, Priestess, Outcast and buy 2 copies of all of them. And just like, what are you doing with your life if not that? Read my stories, bedtime stories for adults. I love them. I hope that you love them too. So that's all I wanted to say quickly before we jump into this conversation with me and Emilee Nimetz on Love is Blind UK. Here we go. Hi everybody, welcome back to Popcorn Therapy. It's me, Julie Peters, and it's Emilee Nimetz who is back with me. I feel like I've had a couple of episodes without you and I've missed you.
I know, I've missed you too. Thanks for having me back.
Anything that you want to say to introduce yourself or maybe update us on going on in your life or anything like that?
Sure, yes. Hello, I'm Emily. I use they, them pronouns. I am a lover of TV in general, but also especially reality TV. Updates. Well, you can watch me in a show called The Chicken Sisters, which is on Hallmark Plus or the W Network in Canada. I am playing a little courtroom clerk. So the first episode that I'm in just released yesterday. So yeah, you can check me out if you want to see me have a Southern accent and have a lot of fun.
Yay, Chicken Sisters.
Woohoo.
Hallmark.
Yes.
Hallmark for the win.
Mm-hmm. We love.
Okay, so we're here today to talk about Love is Blind UK. And what I want to do is actually start at the end and go back to the beginning. So I want to start from the reunion and then talk about like what the hell happened. Because the reunion was very eventful. There was a lot that happened in the reunion, and I feel like we need to unpack like where it all started.
Okay.
So spoilers, please. If you haven't yet watched this show, we're going to talk about what happens at the end right off the bat here. So go back and watch and then listen. But let's talk about the reunion. So, okay, I feel like the thing that I need to unpack the most, like the thing that's bothering me the most, is Kal and Sarover. Sarover. Kal and Sarover. I feel like upset on her behalf, and then I feel like on top of Kal and Sarover is Billy and Ashleigh. They had actually a weirdly, like, uncannily similar ending to their relationships. I didn't feel like their relationships were similar during the show, but on the reunion they broke up right at the same time. It was like 3 months after they got married or something. So tell me your take on Kal and Sarover.
I know, I'm like, I don't actually know how to say her name without a British accent, but I love her name and I love her.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that, like, it was, I think when we were texting throughout, watching the show, I really felt like they didn't have a ton of palpable sexual chemistry that you could, like, feel through the screen when you're watching them. Like, I feel like sometimes you can really tell there's, like, an energy between people, like, oh, they're really into each other, and, like, who knows how much of that is, like, genuinely being into each other. Like, I think that's like a whole other conversation, but it didn't really look like they had much, like, sort of romantic chemistry, although it might be something like the cameras might have been impacting that. It might have been like that they're more, like, reserved people. They're not super into, like, PDA or whatever. But yeah, I definitely was like, oh, they kind of give me, like, brother and sister energy a little bit. Like, it was just, like, not a vibe. And I do feel like, you know, they're both very attractive people, but for whatever reason, it seemed like she was really excited for this connection. It seemed like she was really, like, you know, thought that she had found something really deep. And for him, especially considering, like, you know, the hindsight of it all, it's like, it seems like maybe he a little bit was just like, maybe I'll try having a long-term relationship and see if I like it. Like, it didn't really seem like he, you know, like, watching it back as somebody who, like, they broke up so quickly after they got married, like, it doesn't seem like he really cared about it. I don't know. It was weird. He gives me, like, really weird energy. He also gives me an energy of an ex that I've had where it's basically just like, I'm dumping you and I'm going to give you absolutely no information about why. Like, just the utmost disrespect that you can treat somebody like. And so I feel like I really feel for her, because it's just like you feel completely, like, insane when you're sort of wondering why somebody is ending things and they haven't given you a reason. So yeah, that's kind of my initial impression.
I liked them during the season. I agree that they didn't seem like they had a ton of chemistry, but I wondered if that was also just a little bit of, you know, Britishness. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, like, my ancestry is British, but I'm not in that culture, so I don't know. Like, I feel like it can be a little bit less expressive sometimes, and so I thought maybe they were just not expressing things as much, but that didn't mean that it wasn't there. And I just thought the storyline about him being half Pakistani and her coming from an Indian family and, like, the major cultural conflict that is, I thought that was a really interesting storyline, especially the way that she believed in that relationship so much that she kind of said, like, even though my mom is really having trouble with this, which later she really came around and didn't seem to have any issue with it later down the line, but, you know, that her mom was really concerned for a little while. And, you know, she said a few times, like, I'm choosing myself by choosing Kal. Like, this seems to be really the right person for me. And I don't care that there will be cultural differences or that some people might judge it or whatever it is. Like, I really want to do this for myself because I've always tried to do kind of the good girl thing in the past. And this is the first time I've actually chosen someone for my own reasons. And I thought that was really beautiful. And I was quite shocked when it didn't work out, and the way it didn't work out, like you say, just how harsh that is for someone to say. The way that the story was described on the reunion is that they had this, like, great 3 months, wonderful Christmas holiday, and then January 2nd, he sat her down and he said, "It's over." And on the reunion, they were kind of talking about it. And he offhandedly says at a certain point, "You don't consult on a breakup, do ya?" And I was like, ooh, if you think you don't consult on a breakup, like you've never had a relationship before, you know? I mean, you don't consult on like, I feel like if you're in a partnership, if you're married, of course you consult on the breakup. Of course you start by saying like, this is my need that isn't met, or like, here's what's not working for me in the relationship. And then you work on it together. And maybe you come to a point where you decide it's not working. And maybe one of the two people has to really say, like, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. But like, of course you consult on a breakup. I thought that was kind of a shocking thing to say in a way. And he just couldn't explain himself. You know, he kept saying like, she didn't do anything wrong. You know, that's what's hard about this. Like it was great and perfect. And she was everything I wanted. And I actually was really feeling like, you know, I come at this from a lens of a counselor, and some of the clients that I work with, many of them have relationship questions and issues. And so I was really wondering, like, what's going on with Kal? What happened here? You know, I thought it was really interesting how his brother kind of named what was going to happen from early on. And early on in the season, he said, you know, Kal has never had a long-term relationship before. And as soon as someone interrupts his routine or whatever it is, that's when he doesn't want to work on himself at all. And so he turns around and leaves. But, you know, I'm married, our other brother is married, and he wanted that for himself. And so it's sort of like the way his brother was describing it, he was like, he thinks he wants this, but he can't do it. He's not capable. I don't believe in him in that way. And then at the reunion, his brother said something similar where he was like, well, you know, Sarover's great. And if he can't make it work with her, he's not going to make it work with anyone. And Kal just agrees. He's like, that's exactly right and true about me. And in a way, I felt like there's got to be something behind this, right? Like Kal has these really wide open eyes throughout the whole season. And that can be a trauma symptom. Like when someone has those really wide open eyes like that, it's almost like their system is always in a state of shock. And so, you know, I was looking back at some of the episodes trying to figure out, did he say anything about his childhood? Like he mentions that one of his brothers had severe addiction, and is in recovery now. Addiction doesn't come out of nowhere. Like there is something. I don't know if it was within the family system or something that happened with him. It's often within the family system, though, where that happens. So what was going on there? Why does his brother, you know, not believe in him in that way? Is there something else going on that we're not being told? Like, I think you and I also had a moment of like, is he actually, you know, gay or something? Or he has like a different sexuality and he just hasn't acknowledged that either to himself or anyone else. And that's why it couldn't work with Sarover. Like, I've seen some things online about, you know, people saying, oh, you know, he's just into these blonde white women. Maybe it's internalized racism. Like, you know, there's also this thing about him being half Pakistani. Like, there's a lot of story behind that, right? Like, okay, how did his parents get together? Why are they not together? Like, what happened between them? You know, what's going on with this sort of cultural piece there? And so, you know, sometimes when there's mixed race within a family, there can be not necessarily trauma, but there can be conflict around a sense of identity, right? So maybe there was something like that going on. I couldn't find it. Like I couldn't find it in the show, and it's totally fair for him to keep that private to himself. But does he even know what it is? You know, is it just that the people around him are just like, oh, he's just an idiot and he'll never have a relationship? Like, I don't buy that he just doesn't want one. I mean, I suppose that could be it too. Like maybe he's asexual and that's actually what's going on with him. But I feel like if you want that, you don't turn away because, you know, you just have decided you're not for long-term relationships. Like that's sort of a heartbreaking choice to make. I've gotten married, you know, I've had these feelings for this person who I think is really wonderful, and I'm just going to walk away. Like what was going on, you know, behind those shocked eyes, to create that situation. So I'm conjecturing a lot here. I mean, I obviously don't know, you know, the background of the story, but I feel like there's got to be something there because it didn't make sense the way that he just walked away. In the way that I feel like for Billy, it made more sense. I have more of a narrative there. But with Kal, I feel like there's more than what he told us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I definitely agree that there's probably a Britishism there that's like that's not how British people are known to. It's not Love Island, you know. Well, I guess Love Island starts in UK and it's pretty slutty over there. But I do wonder if he was just like, it's kind of this thing where these men go on this this show. They are like fitness guys. They're trying to get followers and get sort of Insta famous, and and it's like he did the wedding, and it was maybe hoping that like he would just like be able to move on from that so quickly and then have this like quote unquote like social media career almost of like, well, now I'm famous because I was on this show, and like now I can go do what I actually came out to do, which was to become an influencer. So I kind of wonder about that, like if he never really had feelings for her, and if he was just kind of like playing along for the story to be on the show, to get paid by the show, which is not a lot of money, but like, to get that kind of like exposure, because I feel like you do get a lot of like clout chasing influencer kind of folks on this show. And it's like, I do come back to the fact that I didn't really sense any chemistry. I didn't really sense that he was like into her. Like she seemed to be a lot more like wanting to connect with him. And this is the thing that I find a lot of the time when I watch these shows, and what I notice a lot of the time in heterosexual couples is like the women are like very like, I'm here, I see you as a three-dimensional person, I respect you, I want to love you, I want to get to know you, I really want to show up as people and like connect for real. And I do feel like this is just like another example of the way that men just like look at women as objects in their life. Like she was a pawn in his life that he could use to then, I don't know, launch his fitness influencer career or whatever. Like, I don't think that he genuinely really saw her as a person. And then like, just like in response to what you're saying about how she's like, I'm going to choose myself. I think it's kind of interesting. Like we had that conversation about the queer ultimatum, and how there was a lot of conversations about mixed race couples, and a lot of the times the white partner being like, why won't you choose me over your family, And it just made me feel really icky with that. And so, like, it is this narrative of love that's just like, choose love, choose yourself, girl. Like, you can get it. And I feel like it's this false promise, because she sort of abandoned her mom. She abandoned her cultural connection in order to pursue this guy that was staring at her with these psycho killer eyes. And it's like, do you actually like him, or do you just like this narrative? Do you just want this story to turn out for you because you're really hoping for a long-term relationship? You're really hoping for marriage. You're really hoping for that kind of commitment. And I often feel like heterosexual folks, or folks in heterosexual relationships, like that it can often have that downfall where it's like, and I mean, I think it can probably happen in every relationship, but like the narrative being so much more important than the reality. And I've been in that situation where I was denying myself signs that somebody didn't like me, and then the rug was pulled out from under me, and I was like, what? This is such a surprise. And then it's like, well, it's been almost 10 years and it wasn't a surprise. That person really did not like me and really made it known that they did not like me. And it was so subtle. It was so plausibly deniable. Like, I couldn't really point to one thing, but like it is kind of a thing. And so maybe I'm projecting, but like I do kind of wonder about how much of what she had told herself was this romantic story, fairy tale thing of like, just choose love, just take the leap and the net will find you. All of this stuff that's not necessarily real. Like, that's not real. Like, look at the person in front of you. Are they connecting with you? Not just do you want to connect with them, but are they making an attempt? Are they asking you any questions? He just seemed like a cardboard box, just kind of standing there staring at her with these giant eyes, like, just like, yeah, like this fitness cardboard box. And I was like,
drier than a stick of butter.
Yeah. We're not even at butter. We're at cardboard box. I'm like, girl, he's giving you nothing. Like, what do you know about this guy? He seems boring. He seems stupid. He seems ignorant. He seems like he wasn't even, I felt like his mom and his brother are so much more interesting than him. I was like, run away. You're way better than him. She's so beautiful, so smart, so interesting. Her family is wonderful. I don't know. I'm always in the girls' corner, pretty much always in the girls' corner. And it was one of those situations where I was kind of like, yeah, no, he's not good enough for you,
It's making me think of some previous Love is Blind. I don't even remember which one, but there was a girl talking to her mom about her doubts about the man that she was supposed to marry. And she said something to her mom like, we don't share values, we don't share humor, we're not matched intellectually, like, we don't like the same things, we have nothing in common. And her mom says, but none of that matters if you love each other, does it? you know, that feels very much what it is. And I feel like that happens so often in this show where, you know, I think what you're naming is not being in love with the person, but being in love with the narrative, being in love with the story. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's something that I learned in school, which is that marriages will tend to stay together when people have a story that they're committed to, right? And usually we're talking religion, right? It's like we got married before God, and therefore, you know, we have to stay together because that's our values or whatever it is. Those relationships will last longer. Are they happier? You know, are they healthier? That's a different story. But a lot of the time what people are committing to is the story of what it means to get married, not actually committing to being with the person and choosing to love them as a verb, right? I think a lot of people on this show, and, you know, maybe in the wider world or whatever, have kind of a weird definition of what love is. And Kal says it at one point too, like, I just want to feel like I'm under a spell, and that's what I want from love, you know? And yeah, maybe that was it for Sarover, that feeling of like, I want this to be something. And I'm not actually looking at what conversations have we had? Like, what is it that I like about him? You know, am I interested in him as a person, or am I interested in how he makes me feel? Which can be important, but at the same time, that's where you can get into this danger, right? It's like the ex that you're talking about made you feel, I mean, I'm sure you can talk more about this, but maybe valued or special or wanted, you know, and when these things are really important to us, we sort of fall for that. And I've had that experience as well. And then when that changes, when that person starts mistreating you or whatever it is, you're just like, what happened? And I feel like these really sweet, you know, well-meaning women who like want to make it work, you know, and maybe there's a little bit of people pleasing there. Maybe there's a little trying extra hard to like make space for whatever mistakes their partners are making, because they want it to go well so much, and they want to see the best, and they want to believe in the best. And it's easy to miss those red flags. And I feel like, you know, that happens in all kinds of relationships too, where it's like, well, if I really saw the red flags, then I would have to blow my life up, you know, and I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna keep on, you know, assuming that everything is okay. And of course, there's something interesting about these people who are coming on this show, this reality TV show, which is one of these reality TV shows that's both reality and also fantasy, right? This irony that we're watching a show that is called reality TV, but this is not reality. This is not anything close to reality. Like, this is not the way people tend to meet each other, get to know each other, get married, all of these things. Like, having the cameras on changes the situation. And, you know, we've done quite a few episodes on Love is Blind now, and there's like a Love is Blind cult maybe that we've talked about before, where there's sort of a buy-in that you have to the Love is Blind narrative. And I didn't notice this as much with UK. Like, I actually love the UK version because I feel like people are a little more genuine. The hosts are more genuine. Like, it's sort of, aside from the reunion, which was so shocking, like throughout the show, I just sort of felt like these were real people for the most part. In US, it feels like harder to sift through the bullshit. But there is often this feeling of like, okay, if you get married, you're in the club. And if you have children, you know, you get like gold stars for all of these things. And if you don't, then you're kind of rejected out of the club, and we will judge you forever. And it's actually quite intense, like public humiliation and things like that can come up around it. And I have a friend who was watching the show that was just pointing out, like, at the reunion, how thrilled the audience seemed to be with all the drama. And it's like, these are real people. Like, these are real feelings, you know, I think, you know, for the most part, you know, and people are just sort of enjoying the gasp factor of all of it. So, you know, it adds this extra layer of public scrutiny to what's happening. And like you say, some of these people are on here sort of for that reason, like for the clout chasing. And I'll also just add, one of the things that I really enjoy doing every time I see a Love is Blind is trying to decode what the job description actually means. Because, you know, we've had so many gym owners, right? What does that mean? Like, you have a Peloton and you're going to sell it to the next person, or like you're in an MLM, or like, who knows what that means, right? Or you're an influencer, right? You're like a fitness influencer, and you just like have a gym in your basement and you like sell online courses or something. Like, who knows what that means, right? So many of them are like marketing managers, which I think also means social media influencer.
Yeah.
You know, but my favorite job, this is a non sequitur, but my favorite job that I saw on this one, I can't even remember who it was, but it was retired pub landlord. Retired pub landlord.
Retired
Just like
LinkedIn.
You know, my dad ran a pub that I then sold, and I don't have to work or whatever it is. It's like, wow, that's your job. Like, that's not
not a job.
Cool. So you're on reality TV is what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot that can be said about what you're talking about there, about the public humiliation factor. And it does feel like, okay, walk with me on this. In this era of hyper surveillance that we are in, you know, and this kind of thing that happens online where it's like, let's laugh at every single thing people do. God forbid you embarrass yourself. It makes it really difficult to be vulnerable, have genuine connection. Like, all of these things come at a cost, right? We can go and we can watch people acting absolutely wild, you know, anywhere in the world. We can see it. Somebody's having a real bad day, you can watch it. But the price of that is all of a sudden everybody begins to sort of police themselves a little bit more of like, I better not, you know, do that. And so it sort of feels like the byproduct of this show is just this enforcement of heteronormativity and dominant culture and white supremacy, where marriage, kids means you get applause, people like you because you essentially won the game. Like, even though it's not a winning reality show like RuPaul's Drag Race, when there's a winner, still kind of win the game by getting married. There is no gray area. Like, if your relationship ends, you know, and we get to confirm whether or not they actually did win the game in the reunion. And if it's failed, then yeah, the price of that is it's humiliating. Like, you lost the game, and how dare you should have been more XYZ. And I feel like it really reinforces these stereotypes of the ways in which women need to adapt themselves to make themselves more likable and appealing to men, and all of this stuff, which is very, you know, incel, misogynist, gross heteronormativity, which is the reality of the world that we live in. But I think it's also interesting to think as well of like, and I feel like this comes up every time we talk about this show, but the male loneliness epidemic, the so-called male loneliness epidemic, heavy air quotes around that, where, yeah, like, you see these women who seem so genuine a lot of the time. Like, of course there's the odd one, but I feel like for the most part, a lot of the women, especially in the UK, seem very genuine, very interested in vulnerability and connection, willing to try and make things work, especially with Sarover and Ashleigh. And what ends up happening is they're going out of the way to make these men comfortable, and these men are unwilling to make any sort of, not even compromises. It's just like, do you know how to show up and be with another person, to share a space with somebody else? Like, these aren't things that you need to want, but these are parts of, that's kind of what marriage is like, you're putting two lives together, you know?
Yeah, I think that was all really spot on. And I feel like Kal is a great example of that male loneliness epidemic idea,
Yeah.
right? Someone who, you know, we don't know exactly what was going on there, but I guess the way I'm reading that is that he felt internally that he just had to walk away. And who knows what internal narratives were going on there around not deserving or not being able to or whatever it is. But lonely is I guess, a word that I would really associate with Kal. The way his brother just kind of names, like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, the way that he is kind of cold with the big eyes, and the way that he is just like, I'm gonna be a gym owner and just like be really hot, but like not ever actually connect with anyone in any way, and that's my life goal. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that sounds really lonely, right? And again, maybe it's an asexuality, which is a whole different thing. But if it's not that, you know, if it's like, I do want connection, but I just don't think I deserve it or don't think I can have it, that I feel like that does play into the intensity of what patriarchy does to men and
Yeah.
women. So Ashleigh and Billy, really different in their journey, but very similar, like 3 months later, you know, kind of ended things. We didn't really see with Kal any doubt aside from his brother. It was just like, we're saying yes and let's go for it, and then I'll just leave the second it gets uncomfortable for me in any way. Whereas we really did see Billy's doubt, and he did communicate that to Ashleigh, which I feel like maybe there's, you know, something to offer in terms of that, like at least communicating like, I'm feeling nervous about this, whatever it is. But the way the show presented it, I feel like you could kind of see that coming for Billy from actually right out of the gate, like episode 1 or whenever he first shows up. He has a tattoo on his arm that says, I just haven't met you yet, like from that song by
Michael Bublé?
Like Bublé or yeah, something like that. It's like quite a cheesy song, and it's that idea of like, I just haven't met you yet. And so he's got that tattoo, and I feel like, okay, that tells you everything you need to know, right? Like someone is making permanent the fact that they haven't yet met that person, right? And like he wants to sort of edit the tattoo once he meets the person, whatever it is. But there's something about that that's like, you're making your identity not having met that person yet.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about his ex is like, oh, we just fell out of love, which is like, for me, I don't buy that, right? We've talked about love before on this podcast. And for me, love is a verb. It's very much like my favorite definition of true love is supporting each other's growth, right? It's like letting each other be the multifaceted human beings that you are, and supporting growth in whatever direction that the person wants to go in, as opposed to like, you play this role in my life, therefore, you know, that's what I'm marrying, right? Like, I'm marrying the provider aspect of you, and if you lose your job, I'm not going to love you anymore. Like, that's the kind of thing I think we see on Love is Blind, right? As people are expecting these roles from each other. And so, you know, I think that he had this whole thing about how, you know, I'm not sure if it was his ex-wife who was cabin crew. I think it probably was, but I'm not sure if that was explicit. But he'd had a relationship with cabin crew in the past, and it didn't work out because he's in the military. I have some intimacy with that because my husband is in the military, and yes, oh my gosh, they leave all the time. It's really inconsistent, and it's incredibly hard in a relationship. And one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of these military guys who are like doing their best and wanting to make these relationships work, a lot of the time it doesn't, because the people that they're marrying, I think it happens with the military women as well, but like the people they're marrying are like, I need you, like if we're gonna have kids and stuff, like I kind of need you around, and so it can make it really difficult. And if you have both people doing that, like obviously that's gonna present a challenge. But I feel like the way Billy phrases that is just like, it might not work out. It's like, okay, what about that didn't work out? How could you communicate differently to make that work better? What do you need that you weren't getting in your previous relationship? Like, there was no critical thought about it. It was just like, it didn't work out, and I want it to work out and differently, in the same way that Kal was like, I want to be under a spell, and that's what I want love to feel like. I feel like Billy had that same like, I just want to feel this magical thing, and that's going to be what it is. And if I see a potential blip, I'm just going to run scared, even though Ashleigh said, and this wasn't super clear what the plan was, but she did say like, I am willing to change my job and like have a desk job or something and be able to stay in one place. Like, I just need to get through this next 6 months. And he was like, the 6 months, like I can't survive the 6 months. It was so much, right? But I feel like Ashleigh may have had a similar kind of thing to Sarover around like wanting to believe in it, really wanting to see the good. Like Ashleigh, I sort of liked her, but I'm also not sure I would be friends with Ashleigh. Like, I feel like she was just. It was actually watching the reunion. There's this really serious song that they have where they're all like walking in, and it's like, take a breath because it's very serious. And Ashleigh just has this big shit-eating grin on her face, and she's just like, hey, I'm back. Like, she's just so perky. Yeah. And like, that's who she is, and like, love her for that and all that. It's not quite my vibe. But there were some moments, I think particularly there was one with Ketisha where she came up and she was kind of pushing Ketisha to be like, so, you know, but like, why did you choose Javen? Like, everyone was upset about you choosing Javen, and like, you've made a mistake, and like, don't you feel that you've made a mistake? And poor Ketisha starts to cry, and Ashleigh's just like, oh, I knew you needed this. And it's like, no. Like, white lady, just give her some space. Like, let her feel the thing. She's like, you just poured a lot of judgment on her. That's why she's crying, you know? And then she had to process that later of like, everyone's judging me and whatever. So I think Ashleigh's like very well-meaning, but there's also something about it that for me is just like, ooh, that's a bit much for me. But that's sort of aside from, you know, what happened within their relationship.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She has a bit of like that sort of like blinders on, isn't quite sensing the nonverbal cues in the conversations, totally. Especially with the women, it feels. Yeah, it was interesting because I feel like the first few episodes, like, yes, we did get that one moment where he was like, I can't do cabin crew. And I remember just being like, oh, well, that's nothing. Like, I just remember being like, that's not a real problem. Like, they seem to be connecting on all these other things. They'll get over it, but then, like, it did come back. But there were a few episodes there where I was just, like, they almost didn't even focus on them at all. And I was like, oh, yeah, they'll probably say yes, and they'll probably be fine. Like, they seem like the most, like, boring couple. And then they kind of became some of the drama near the end of the season and with the build-up to the wedding. But, yeah, I do feel like she has a bit of, like, starry-eyed kind of like romanticism fantasy of the entire like situation. Like, you know, she just can't wait to meet her man, and like she kind of has like Disney princess energy around the whole thing, and she's so beautiful, and she seems really sweet, and I really feel for her. Yeah, like he sort of just seemed to panic at the idea of cabin crew, like it's sort of like it was his trigger, and he wanted to run the other way, but I don't know, like maybe he was a bit deluded to be like, maybe I should stay. It was just like, we know it's this thing, but it's fine, we'll work through it. And yeah, I feel like she gave like pretty clear indication that it was like, just give me 6 months, like the next 6 months will be hard, but like I can't just abandon my job in the middle. Like I have to give them these 6 months or whatever. Like there was some logistical thing that was keeping her there for 6 months before she looked at doing another kind of job, which is like, I feel like somebody
in the frame of a marriage is nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And she's saying this to a partner who is like leaving for 3 months at a time. So it's like, what does it matter to you if she's like, you're going to be gone for a chunk of that time, possibly? Like, I just felt like he did not actually engage with the question of what it would mean to not compromise necessarily, but just come together on this. I think for a partner to be in the position of being like, I will change my job for this relationship is a huge deal. I think that is such a huge deal for someone to say that to you. And that should be evidence enough to you that this person is willing to make it work. What makes you think that that's not going to happen? Like, why wouldn't you just give it to the end of the 6 months? And if they're like, oh, just kidding, I lied about that, I'm not changing my job, I'm never going to, then maybe that's when you have that conversation. But do you not understand that she can't just like not have her job for 6 months? Like she can't just quit her job in the middle of it. I just felt like it was so unreasonable of him to just like end that so early. And especially because he ended it at 3 months, which means that they had just another 3 months to go. So why wouldn't you just wait? I think it's so, and there's, like he's obviously dealing with something that's making him pull out in fear. And I just really felt for her. Like the one scene when they're like, I guess maybe in Northern Ireland and they're like on the cliffs and she's in that like really cool, like, I don't know, like sleeping bag hoodie situation, like raincoat. I don't know what it was. I was like, I want that. But like, she was like, it was like very colorful. His was like gray and hers was like blue and pink and yellow. And she was like, just like sobbing to the camera, to the interviewer, just being like, I just don't know. Like, I just don't want it to, you know, and she's like, I'm really trying. Like, I really felt for her.
I think that what was happening in part for Billy is that he just hadn't processed his divorce, right? Like it was 5 years ago and he had this thing of like, you know, I don't want to be divorced again. Like I want to get married and for it to be my forever person or whatever. But he hadn't actually thought about, at least we never saw them talk about in the pods or anywhere, what didn't work about that? What would you do differently? What did you learn about yourself? Did you try counseling? Would you try counseling? Like there was nothing about that. And I feel like when a big relationship ends like that, you have to process it, right, before you're going to go on to the next thing. And my sense was that he was panicking, like I think panicking is the right word for it, before the wedding. And it wasn't like he was putting it on cabin crew, but that wasn't, it was like his brain was filling in something where his body was just panicking because he was like, I'm doing the same thing I did before. Like this would be unsafe for me. And I was texting you at the time, and I remember saying, like, I don't know if I hope he says yes or no, because I think he's not ready, and that could be worse for her down the line. But I don't really know. And then he said yes, and I texted you, I'm so relieved actually Billy said yes. Like, that's great. I'm so happy for them. And then reunion next episode, like, oh, okay, so it was worse for her. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that was definitely a part of it. But yes, let's talk about the grocery store, the food, the cake, the minced chicken and what was it? Minced chicken and rice
broccoli, minced broccoli and rice every meal.
Yeah.
And oh my, yeah, and Brie was a special treat. I was like,
ugh.
And I really felt for her story because she obviously has a history, like everybody who, I feel like everybody who is not a cisgender heterosexual man. And even then, I feel like there's a lot of like body image stuff that is very different in that, you know, part of the society. But like anybody who is not cishet has dealt with like body image issues, especially people like Ashleigh, who are probably around our age. She seems maybe a bit younger than us, but like, you know, she's grown up in the time of like the ultra thinness. And so she was like, I was a beanpole, and when I ate more food, I liked my body a lot more. And so like she had a very tangible reason for being like, it's okay if I have sweets, you know, like, and of course that would be different if she was not thin. Like, I don't think that socially she would have as much acceptance to say stuff like that if she was not very thin in the way that she is. But, you know, she just felt very like, what? Like, it just seemed to be such a shock to her that he was like, I eat ground meat, frozen broccoli, and rice at every single meal. I'm like, bro, I did that when I had an eating disorder. I learned that is an eating disorder, actually. Like, if you are so terrified to eat food that is going to make your body not look the way that you want it to look, that is disordered eating. Like, maybe you don't want to label it that way, but honey, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Like, orthorexia down. Like, I had that too. I literally had a few months in my early 20s where I ate the exact same thing for every single meal. Frozen broccoli. I would bake a chicken like once a week and just eat that chicken with broccoli every single meal. And it's like, yeah, that's an eating disorder, honey. So
not the first one we've seen in a man on these reality TV shows either. I think it was somebody in The Ultimatum who, very similar, like gym owner, whatever. It was one of those jobs. But yeah, there was a similar conflict where it was like, I only eat these things. And the partner was like, what are you talking? Like, can we not have dinner together? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it's, of course, it's not named that when it's a man doing it, right? Especially like an army fitness trainer, gym owner, fitness influencer, whatever it is. It's seen as like a good thing, like good for you, you know, that you're so disciplined that you can do this.
Yeah.
And you know, oh God, I have so many thoughts and feelings about this. Like, watching that scene was really, I don't know if triggering is the word for me, but like it just brought up a lot because, you know, you and I, we both have our histories with food in different ways. And as you said, I feel like maybe everyone does. But this conversation also makes me so curious, like, is this always a thing? Or like, do people get together and they just like share food and it's like not an issue? Like, do people just make food for each other and it's like normal? Like, I don't know. Because for me, it's not, right? Like, I was diagnosed with food phobia specifically when I was in my teens. And there's a bunch of other stuff. I had probably cyclic vomiting syndrome, which is like this, you know, anxious vomiting, basically. I thought it was sort of like 2 weeks of food poisoning and then like that lasted forever, but it was actually anxiety. And then that led to like years of anorexia, which then led to like years of chronic digestive issues and so on. And when I was eating that like meat, broccoli, not even the rice, that was when I was like very sick and trying to recover my gut health. And I think that, you know, what I've come to now through everything that I've been through, you know, this is sort of like, this is going to sound really cheesy, but I'll say it anyway. The meaning of life, my current opinion on the meaning of life, is to be in a body well. Not to be well in a body, that's different, but to be in a body well, which means like to enjoy your body, to experience your body. Because the only thing that's true about our lives is that we have a body and then we don't, right? And there may be some spiritual after, you know, or before, like we don't know, but like having a body is the major thing of being alive, right? And so I feel like the point of us being here is eating fucking brie sometimes. Yeah. And maybe broccoli too, you know, if it feels good in your body, and like all of those things. And my relationship with food is now like so much healthier than it used to be. But my husband and I have conflicts about it because sometimes he makes these like beautiful meals that have, you know, it's like carbonara with like egg yolks and bacon and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's too rich for me. Like I can't, like I still have this kind of ex-anorexic sort of like phobia really of like certain foods, and it is a conflict between us. And I'm so curious if people just sit down and just like eat food together and it's fine. Like I feel like food is just such a connection, it's such a moment of being together. Like it has so many social, cultural, personal, religious, somatic like resonances to it that it really matters. And so, you know, when they had that argument in the grocery store and she was like, let's get some cake, and he was like, do you know how many calories is in that? Like I would be like, if I was on a date with someone who said that to me, I don't know that I would ever see them again, or I would just be like collapsed in tears like in the parking lot. I wouldn't be able to go on, like if somebody shamed me to that level for wanting to eat cake, because the shame is so close to the surface and it's so easy to access that shame for like wanting to eat something delicious. And like I said, I think that's kind of the point of life, is to experience things well and to like have pleasure. Not there's more to say about this, but you know, for me, pleasure is different from numbing, like safe, healthy, you know, pleasure that brings you into your body, not like addictive behaviors that try to take you out of your body. That's a little bit of a different thing. But there shouldn't be shame in like eating cookies or brie or whatever it is when you want to, especially if you're like on a special date and you're like, let's get a bottle of wine, let's have some nice cheese. Like that should be a moment of delight and joy and indulgence and all of those things. But instead it was this moment of shame for her. And like, I feel like she handled it way better than I would have. Like I would have been off the absolute handle. Like I just wouldn't,
me too.
I don't even know what would have happened to me, but like I couldn't even survive that conversation. Like that would have been, no. And I feel like there's so many, like, because, like for me, if I was in those pods and someone's like, oh, I own a gym, or like I'm a fitness influencer or whatever, I'd be like, great, like have a nice life. I'm not interested in trying to compete with you or like worrying about what my body's going to look like next to you or like any of these things. You know, my husband and I, you know, we're getting older. We've got 2 kids. Like, you know, our bodies reflect that, you know, and our lives reflect that. And I feel like it would actually be so much more stressful if my husband was like, I need to get to the gym for 6 hours every day and I'm only eating, you know, mince and rice and broccoli or whatever. Like it would make me feel so much worse about, you know, how I'm in relationship with my body and trying to just navigate the things that I'm going through, right? So, oh my gosh, yeah, I feel like that was a really, there's like, it's a big one for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, same. I really resonate with a lot of that. It was very icky for me, and I agree. I feel like food for me is such, it's such an emotional connection. Like I myself have issues that I'm working through with my relationship to food, but like I love to cook for people. I love to make something that is delicious, or like I have a great recipe. I love learning new cooking techniques. I grew up watching the Food Network like every day, like Iron Chef down. The original Iron Chef in Japanese. Thank you very much. So yeah, and it's interesting because I grew up in a household that was like very not connected to food. I don't know. We were like poor. We were very poor whites. Like I was white trash. We had a lot of sandwiches, a lot of soup, a lot of fast food. Like that was like what I was raised on, was like, you know, convenience foods. And I don't fault my parents for that. Like it was the 90s. That was like, don't worry, this juice has real fruit in it. And you're like, it's really not good for you. Like Yeah. But anyway, it's definitely something I'm sorting through now. But yeah, I feel like food is such a connection. A connection. Like it's one of the ways that I like to express care for people is by cooking. It's something I've developed over the past decade or whatever. And yeah, that would be a relationship killer for me if a person was just like, I'm only eating mince and frozen broccoli and rice every meal, and you can have your delicious thing that you made, and we'll just have separate meals. I'm like, what? Like, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's so much. I don't even know how to process that. Like, you know, the problems that my husband and I have are like, we both like to cook like slightly different styles of things, and it's like a problem, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't even imagine that. Anyway, that was a lot.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so Ketisha, my girl, Ketisha.
Oh, Ketisha.
Oh, Ketisha.
Oh, Ketisha, my beautiful, beautiful girl.
Yeah. So beautiful, so expressive. I really related to her. And I think that even before you started watching the show, I sent you a voice note about Ketisha because I was like, oh, Emilee, it's happening again. Like, this is something that we've seen so many times. It's such a pattern on Love is Blind and Ultimatum and whatever it is. It's like, you know, the way that story went is that Ketisha was trying to choose between Demola and Javen. And we saw all of these moments of Demola being really clear with Ketisha that he liked her. He wanted only her. He was doing gestures. I forget what they were. Maybe he gave her a gift or something like that. He wrote her a poem that actually, there have been so many cringy poems in Love is Blind, but this one I thought actually was cute. Like, it was kind of funny and, you know, it was like not that cringy, I thought. And then there's this, you see this scene of him like writing out a proposal to her and like checking it with his guy friend in the guy's lounge or whatever, and him being like, that's perfect, it's beautiful, she's gonna love it, whatever. And then, you know, cut to Javen being like, yeah, I don't know, like, how I feel about anything. And she's just like, I love that about you. and you know, one thing that I find so often in this show is that people will name the exact issue that they have with dating. They say it out loud.
Yeah.
And she says, you know, Javen is just like the guys I've dated in my past. I've been cheated on before, and I just kept on believing, you know, this person who cheated on me. And Javen really reminds me of this person. And I think one of the first things Javen says is like, ooh, dating multiple people. Like, I have no problem dating multiple people. Like, I can't wait to get into the pods and date multiple people. You know, cut to Ketisha being like, I've been cheated on. Like, you know, and you're like, okay, this is gonna go, you know, only one way. And so, you know, you have Demola preparing this proposal, and then you see Javen. He says to her, like, oh, you know, at this point, you'd have to propose to me if you want, if you want to be together. It's just making her work for it. Like, in that same way, I think that you were talking about around, you know, Sarover and Ashleigh maybe just, like, wanting to believe the best, wanting to, you know, it's sort of that avoidant attachment wound that keeps saying, like, if I can make this person love me, that will resolve that wound. And so, like, I have to keep going towards this person who pokes at my wound. And the person who is offering me love and care and attention, that actually feels really uncomfortable. And you could see her saying, it's too much. Like, I'm uncomfortable with Demola choosing me and wanting to be with me because I haven't had that before. Like, she says it so clearly, like, exactly what the problem is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think she does say, like, I would propose to you, Javen. And then he's like, okay, I'll propose to you, but I haven't prepared anything. It's just like over and over again, you see this thing happening. Sure enough, she chooses him. Sure enough, it's this, you know, the way that you were kind of describing Kal and Sarover and your ex, like, I could tell that this person didn't like me, but I was just sort of like ignoring the red flags. There were so many moments, like that conversation where he's saying, oh, you know, like, I work late, so we probably wouldn't ever have dinner together. And she's like, oh, well, like, I train late, so, like, I usually eat late anyway. And he's like, oh, well, no, I'm in bed by any time that you're free.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be in bed.
Yeah, it
She's
was like, he was like, well, when do you get home? And then she's like trying to guess when would be a reasonable time that would like work with him, and he's like, no, that I'm busy that day. Like, it just, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was just so glaringly obvious and painful to watch her go through that. And of course, you know, he flirts with every other girl at the mixer. He goes out the night before they're supposed to meet her parents. Like, and she keeps coming back around. Like, it was exactly what she said, you know, had happened to her in the past. And it just kept happening. And it was like watching a car crash you've seen before, you know, like it was just like, yep, this is going to happen exactly the way it's happened for me. You know, it's happened for you. It sounds like it's happened to many of these women on Love is Blind who keep on pushing for the guy who just is a little out of reach, you know. And again, my theory about that is that attraction is your wounds trying to heal. It's your wounds trying to find an opportunity to correct what's happened for you in the past. And so it was impossible for Ketisha to go for someone who wasn't going to wound her and was actually going to support her and love her and hold her up, because that wouldn't resolve the wound. She needed to go to Javen, where her wound was going to get poked, and of course get wounded all over again, which is how it ends up happening. You know, most of the time we don't heal our wounds that way. We actually have to heal them by choosing the Demolas of the world, letting someone love us and being really uncomfortable with that for a while and practicing what it feels like to be loved. That's the way that wound has to be healed. But our systems usually refuse that, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, there was this moment when she was in the girls' dormitory, or whatever it's called, where she said exactly that. Like, she said something like, it's just so much that he actually loves me. And then the woman who she was talking to, who I don't remember who it was, but she said something like, you deserve to be loved like that. You deserve to have somebody really care about you. And she started like burst into tears, and she was just like, I don't know that I deserve that. Like, or I don't know if she said that, but there was just some kind of like, just hyper specific awareness of that whole situation. But then thinking of the moment that, okay, so like, Demola says to her, like, that basically, like, she says to him something like, you have nothing to worry about. And that gives him the impression that the next time they get together, he's going to propose to her. And then
seems reasonable from that conversation. Yeah,
it's a reasonable conclusion. And then when she goes to Javen to like break up with him, he is like, his response, like, really, I felt that energy, like, it was like so upsetting, like the way that he was sort of passive aggressive about it. Like, he was just like, well, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my wine then. And she just was like, okay. And she just sat there and kept drinking her wine. And they just like they continued on the date, basically, even though she said that she had a stronger connection. Like, she had voiced everything. I don't know that she outwardly said, I'm ending things with you, but like basically alluded to that, or at least that's what they showed. And then he was just like, well, I'm not going to let a good glass of wine go to waste. And then she was just like, okay. And her body language was like tensed up. Her shoulders were like up to her ears. She was like, she looked terrified, you know? And it's like, yeah, her body was probably just like, this is what love is. Do you see how scared you feel? You got to take the leap, girl. Like, that's the fear, you know? Like, it's very like, how do you know what is like the good fear and the bad fear? Like, it's very hard. And I really felt for her, because they showed that like awkward moment of silence where he was just like sipping, and then they just kind of casually got into this conversation that was a little bit flirty but also kind of dark. Like, it just made me like, I'm so sad for her. And then you just watched the light drain from her fucking eyes, like it just, like, watching her from episode to episode, like, she became a shell of her person. And she seemed to be in a bit better spirits at the reunion, but not completely like how open and joyful and like full of life that she was at the beginning, where she was just like her big, beautiful smile. Like, she's just like she seems like such a beautiful person. And he just like he was a vampire. He sucked the life out of her. Yeah. Like, he was that Olivia Rodrigo song.
And I think for her theme song should be Man-Child by Sabrina Carpenter, which is, you know, it's something like, I like my men incompetent. It's something like that, like in Man-Child. It's just like, yeah, like, why do you keep coming to me? You know, these immature guys who just like can't get it together. I feel like that's her theme song. But yeah, I mean, I same, like, I just related to her so much in that moment. I feel like I've absolutely been there. Making that choice. And one thing that I do want to say, love bombing came up in the season. And there may be some complexity to work out a little bit here. So she felt a little uncomfortable with how strong Demola was coming on. I want to leave a little bit of space for the possibility that was, if not love bombing, which is like, let me take every insecurity that you feel and make you feel really elevated and lifted up and make you feel like I'm the only person that like sees and understands you so that you come with me into my cult. It's usually what it's for. Or, you know, join me in this abusive relationship where I'm gonna like absolutely manipulate you and abuse you. Sometimes relationships that are really toxic and unhealthy start with like a lot of charm, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see that personally with Demola. I felt that he was quite genuine. And he said at a certain point, like, if you see something that you want, you should go for it. And like, I'm going for it. I just see it with Ketisha. Like, let's go for it. But we don't really know. I mean, there could have been something else going on there. So I also want to just leave space that Ketisha may have had an intuition that there was something not genuine about Demola, whether it was clout chasing or even something darker. Like, that's possible. And I think that's really a tough one because I think that's often what a lot of, you know, usually I'm going to say heterosexual women, though it could apply to other people as well. This feeling that, you know, is it that there's something not genuine about how hard this person is coming on? Or is it that it's me, right? And I am not used to being loved. It is, I don't know if it's possible to totally pull those two things apart without like really doing some work around it and having some time with it as well, which this thing is so fast.
Yeah.
That it would be really hard to know that. Like, I feel like there have been times as I've, you know, because I've been in that pattern many, many times. And, you know, it took me, my husband and I probably met 15 years ago, you know, but we didn't really get together. Like, we just had our 5-year anniversary last month. Because I needed to break up with him a few times. He needed to break up with me. We needed to like, it took me a while to like understand that he actually was genuine, because when we were together, one of the times, he was just, he was so committed to me and like loved me so much and was always complimenting me. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is weird. Like, I don't think this is right. This seems wrong. Right. And so I was like, you don't.
Crazy.
Like, there must be something wrong with you, right? That if you really like me. And I remember thinking, like, you are lonely and you just want somebody and like anyone will do, and that's why you're treating me this way, and like it's not real. And so I broke up with him, did a bunch of therapy, and he and I stayed friends, which I think is actually the key for me, is that I needed for us to be friends, for him to date someone else, for me to date someone else, for me to actually understand that he cared about me as a human being and a person. I didn't believe it. That whole time that we were dating, I was just like, I don't know, this seems like it's not real. So I just want to, you know, give Ketisha a little bit of benefit of the doubt that like that might be part of what she's going through. And is Demola like really that person who loved her, or was he just clout chasing? Like, I don't know. Could have gone either way, right?
Totally. Yeah. I feel like if you look at it overall, he comes out really looking like a good guy, you know. If he was playing his cards, I think he played them really well in terms of like his public image. Even when they met up after the fact, he was really like, I wish you well. And I think that he comes across as like very mature, very compassionate. And yeah, if it is
so respectful.
Yeah. And it's like, if that's like an image that he's cultivating, like he's doing a good job of it, you know? Which is like, I think also funny to say, because I think sometimes these men really are clout chasing and they're doing a really bad job.
Some of them are good at it. Some of them are bad at it.
I'm like, do you think...
Can we always tell the difference of like who's good at clout chasing and who's genuine? Like, of course not. We're not always going to get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, you know, I do wonder like what you're saying about time is such a key thing, because yeah, if you do get a vibe from somebody and you're like, maybe I will keep pursuing this, I don't know if it's love bombing, you'll know like after some time. And
yeah,
you can tell when it's love bombing in the real world, when it's like all intense all at once. But that is the nature of this like quote unquote experiment, using that term loosely because it's not that, it's a weird thing. But Yeah, you would notice that if you went on one date and then he immediately starts texting you, I love you and I want to marry you, like the next day. That would be weird in the real world. But in Love is Blind, that's great. And he's going to write the poem, and look at him. He's so nice. He's so open. And yeah, so you make a really great point that we don't really know what his vibe is, but he definitely came out with some great PR, unlike some of these other scrubs out here.
Yeah, one of the other red flags is isolating, right? Someone, which again, Love is Blind, like, it is literally, you're in isolation, like, as you're doing this. And of course, as they come out of it, they meet each other's families and stuff, and that's part of what's important about it. But yeah, you just don't have the time to find out more about somebody, like, yeah. And I feel like, maybe I'll ask you this, I feel like you might have more to say, because we were texting about this a little bit, of how Javen was also triggering of your ex, like, specifically the way that he was, I don't know if gaslighting is exactly the right word for it, but the way that he was excusing his behavior and blaming other people, and, you know, the semantics, like when he had that conversation with Megan and Kieran, where Megan had gone to Ketisha and said, like, listen, Javen was flirting with everybody, like, really obviously, and I just wanted you to know what I saw. And then Javen was like, okay, let's clear the air, like, let me clear this up or whatever. And he was like, you said all night. Like, it wasn't all night, was it? Like, how long was the night? Like, 5 hours? Like, that's not all night. It's like, how is this relevant to anything that Megan was saying? Like, it was just such a way of, I don't know, like, getting at her, and then she burst into tears and left the room, which is, like, good for her. You know, she was just like, I can't have this conversation. This is not like this. I'm being attacked, right?
Totally. Yeah, that's definitely, like, oh my gosh, he really bothered me a lot. Like, the way that he was treating her, I was like, girl, get the fuck out of there. Like, it was so upsetting to watch. And yeah, the semantics kill me. Like, I cannot stand that shit where, like, even at the reunion, they gave him an opportunity to be like, well, what do you want to say to that? And he was just like, she said all night, and had she just specified that it wasn't all night, I would have had no problem. No, first of all, speculation. You don't know how you would have felt if she did clear that up. You are going in all of these, like, logical loops to, like, excuse everything that you're doing, and then you're trying to make it be like, well, if I da-da-da-da, then da-da-da-da. So if I was in the club with her and she didn't see me all night, then how can she say that I was with them all night? It's like, bitch, this is not Sherlock Holmes, okay? Like, this is, we're trying to meet each other in the middle. She's confronting you because she got some information, and you're being extremely defensive like you're in a fucking court of law. No, that's not how you connect people. Yeah,
really
and,
hard
like,
to
you can't come together and, like, get through conflict if you're so, like, hard set on being right about something. Like, that definitely shows that you're shutting down any sort of connection with the person of being like, well, actually, like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we must at least a little bit talk about splenic awareness. Splenic awareness.
Oh, the spleen of it all.
The spleen of it all. So, I want to say I love Anu. I love, he's a liar, he's a liar, he's a liar. It was really interesting to watch her not want to sing for him. Watching him ask, like, sing for me, and she was just like, I'm not like performing for you, like, that's not what this is for. And like, that was another
Ursula.
one of those moments. Yeah. That, like, well, I feel like it was relatable too, in that sense of, like, okay, there's this thing you want me to do for you. I don't feel comfortable with doing it, but I'm gonna, like, try to work around getting comfortable doing it so that you can get what you want.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you know, I feel like Anu is great and, like, is fine, and, you know, had no problem. It was quite funny watching them actually at the mixer or whatever, when she meets him and she's just like, oh, underwhelming. She's just like, it's fine. Like,
what did she say?
She was
like,
just
this
so
is his
mean
star?
to him.
She was like,
She's like, why are you wearing that? It doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good.
So funny. Just giving him the business. And then one of the boys saying, I think he's getting, what did they say? It was like, he's getting hurt in his spleen or something.
Oh, yeah.
His spleen. They're like, his spleen's getting taken down.
Yeah, his spleen must be firing off or whatever.
yeah, I forget exactly what they said, but that was funny. But yeah, so I mean, this thing about the spleen, it's interesting. I mean, he's another human design coach was his job title. And yeah, I feel like it's this maybe cult-like spiritual environment where, you know, it's like you have to use this language and follow these rules. It's not just your intuition, it's not just your gut, it's specifically your spleen, and like, here's what it means to listen to your spleen. Like, it just reminded me of so many of the spiritual folks that I have been around in my spiritual world. And, you know, for me, I feel like I'm quite careful about certain things on that spiritual level because it is so easy to kind of lean into this cult-like territory where, you know, you have to follow these rules, you have to get it in this specific way. Like, it's called human design, and like, I'm a coach in the human design thing or whatever. It's like within this specific thing, human design TM, that like probably some dude created, and like he's, you know, at the top of this pyramid scheme or whatever it is. And, you know, so much of the time, like there's real vulnerability in those sort of modern day gurus that say, this is the way and this is what it has to be, and you're going to use this specific language. Like, I just sort of had this feeling that Patrick was in a moment of his life where he's really wrapped up in this sort of spiritual thing, and it's not giving him what it sells him, right? Mm-hmm. Like this idea that like, oh, you just have to listen to your spleen and you'll know what to do. Like, I'm not sure that I thought he was making thoughtful, critically thought out decisions, right? Yeah. So much of what I talk about and think about when it comes to dating is intuition, right? Like, what does that mean? A lot of the time, our intuition, our gut feeling will tell us what Ketisha's told her, which is, this is familiar. This is the wound trying to heal. Like, go in this direction that's going to get you hurt the same way that you've been hurt every other time before, because that's familiar, I know it, etc. Your gut intuition might not tell you to go with the guy who's like kind and attends to you and cares about you as a human being, because intuition is, among other things, a collection of your experiences, so that you have a reaction that's like pre-thought, right? And so I think especially with dating, because of these attachment things and whatever it is, we should listen to our intuition, but we must also use our critical thinking alongside that. So this idea of kind of branding intuition and then using it to kind of excuse, like, I've decided that you're just not good enough for me for a reason that I kind of can't describe. Like, so many of these men in this show are just like, I can't tell you why you're not good enough. You're just not. And I love how Anu took that. She was just like, well, fuck you then. Like, I'm awesome and you're an idiot, and like your headscarf looks dumb, and like fuck your spleen, spinal rectal awareness or something. She put it like that. She was not having any of that, which I appreciate about her. Yeah. But I feel like that was a lot of where it was coming from. And, you know, just like random sort of facts that came out on social media is that apparently Patrick had made someone pregnant, and she was pregnant during the whole filming of Love is Blind UK.
Yeah, and I think
like,
that
what is your spleen doing for you, buddy?
Yeah, like, it seems like your spleen is pissing a lot of people off. Like,
yeah.
Maybe you want to recalibrate the spleen. Do you have mono? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's such a common thing in that world, where it's like, it can be really beneficial and really beautiful, but it can turn really quickly to like power and manipulation and control. And it feels a lot like, and I feel like this happens a lot in this show in general, and a lot of these heteronormative dating shows, where it's just like, if you make one wrong move, you're out. You know, like, it feels very, and that's such a, especially when men are in that position of like making that decision, which happens a lot on like Love Island, which I also watch, where it's just like the power imbalance is like the men are choosing the women, and if you're not chosen, you're eliminated. And then it like switches the power balance, and now the women get to choose. And it's like interesting to watch like the ways in which people deal with that. But it's very like, you said one wrong thing, you're cut. Like that's a deal breaker for me. And it's like, is it really a deal breaker that she like doesn't want to like sing for you, she doesn't want to perform for you? Like, that felt so weird to me. And then how he was just like, the fact that you didn't do it, that my spleen is saying no, even though she's been like, okay, I figured out a way to do this, and I want it to be genuine, and so I wrote this little song, and why don't I share it with you? And, you know, seemed to be trying to meet him where he was at. And he was just like, no, like, it just
Not
was
good
like,
enough.
yeah, not good enough. And I really don't like that. I'm so glad that her reaction was just like, well, you're a bum. Like,
Yeah. She had no problem moving on from Patrick. Yeah, which is probably a good thing. I hope for his sake that he kind of, you know, can kind of get through that phase of his life and think critically about it and move on and have like a more nuanced sense of what intuition can be and what spirituality can be, because I think that was weaponized spirituality.
Yes.
How it felt to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As for the rest of them, Megan and Kieran, great. Jed and Barda, I mean, fine. You know, that was another one that didn't really work out, but
Loved Barda. So pretty, so like in control of her life. And I love that she said no to this guy because she could just sense that he was going to be kind of a flop. And
she could sense it. Yeah, she could. There was that. I mean, that's the thing about intuition, right? Is like, I feel like that's a different way that intuition came through. Is like, it was sort of a voice in the back of her mind that was increasingly trying to give her more information. She came out with some things after the show as well around how like Jed wasn't really what he sort of said he was, and so she was kind of feeling into that. And she would say a lot of the time, like, it's nice to be soft and it's nice to be taken care of for once. Like, normally I'm not that way. But also, what was his intention with that? I mean, yeah, it sort of felt like maybe he just wanted her to kind of be this trophy wife or this like piece on the side, and that was kind of what her intuition was telling her, like, something about this doesn't feel quite right and I don't think I want to do this. And she turned out to be right in that sense.
And I love a girl who's just like, no, I'm gonna pay, and like just takes over. And I feel like that was, you know, it's weird. It was kind of weird in the storytelling of the show where it was like, it kind of felt like the whole thing is over because of that. But like, I think that it was a good litmus test almost, where she was just like, if I try and like, he was just like, I really want to do it and I really want to pay for you and I thought it would be a nice thing, and he just like loses his mind over the fact that she paid for dinner. It's like, babe, we're about to get married. It's all gonna come out in the wash, you know, like, you don't have to worry so much. And like,
that's some wild like masculine insecurity going on there for sure. Like, I can't have this waiter thinking that I don't pay. Like, okay.
I was like, what, in the 1950s? Like, I'm just like, is that really a thing in the heterosexual community, apart from like, you know, trad wives or whatever, like the princess of it all? Like, it's so wild to me.
So thank you so much, Emilee, for your thoughts on Love is Blind UK. That was great to just get some of my thoughts and feelings off, because there were definitely some triggering moments in this season, I would say, for me.
Yeah, it was an interesting season, and it was refreshing to not be around the Americans, to have a bit of a different culture sort of influence the stuff, but kind of interesting. Same shit, different pile in many ways.
Yeah, and I think the American one is coming back really soon, so we're gonna have more. I'll rope you into watching more of this, and we'll continue the conversation.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, Emilee. Bye. So I hope you enjoyed that. There's more to come. Don't forget to check out the archive of episodes for shows that you might have loved, that you want to think about a little bit with us. And don't forget that you can tip me if you want to support the show. Go to juliepeters.ca/tip me. If you send me $50 or above, I will quite happily send you a personal tarot reading just from me to you, and you can send me a question if you want to. So stay tuned for more, and I will catch up with you next time.